Welcome back, guys, to another episode of my Sunday Solos for Chai Tea with Nina D. Today's topic is going to be a very complex topic, but I hope I can explain it well. It is one that I'm very passionate about, to be honest with you. I have a personal story to share about it too when we get towards the end of the episode, but it's about women and women being multifaceted. Before I start and get into it, I want to mention that this is in no way, shape, or form like pro-female and like anti-male or like, it's not about that. This is strictly about women and how I believe or I feel we are multifaceted, multidimensional, and it's just not accepted enough. It's not celebrated enough, and it's certainly not nurtured and fostered enough in our modern society, but I feel as though it should be. And I went digging deep into the ancient Vedic texts from the eastern part of our world and tried to get a better understanding of, am I just going crazy, or is this like really what it is? Because I do feel like I'm very multifaceted. But when I look around and I speak to my girlfriends and I meet other women, I pick up on things that are very obvious to me that show me most women are multifaceted. Almost everybody that I have met is multifaceted. That's what we're going to talk about. And I want to first talk about why I chose to dive into ancient texts. Number one reason, my mom told me to read when sometimes she wants to know like what I'm going to be talking about weeks before. And so she always gives me her little 2 cents on it. And she said, oh, Nina, on this topic, you should, look up the Vedic text. And she sent me a couple emails with information on it. And then I went down the rabbit hole for like 48 hours. So here's my thing. I am a firm believer that everything that we learn about, talk about, discuss, all the questions that we have about the universe and us and health or food or, the dynamics between a man and a woman and relationships, science, the medical system, whatever it is. I do believe the answers are in many ancient texts. We just don't learn about them in school. And we don't really, pick one up on a Thursday evening and just read one. But if you dig deep and you read and you spend time learning, reading, and deciphering things, a lot of the answers to a lot of our questions are in these texts. Now, I don't care if it's ancient Vedic texts that come from India or like Greek texts or whatever country you choose. I do believe that they have little tidbits of wisdom in them. When we realize through social media, we should be doing breath work, when Wim Hof came around several years ago, or Dispenza, things that Dispenza says. Nothing they say is new. It all comes from Vedic texts. It's all written in ancient textbooks. Like, you just have to pick up a book and read it and find it yourself. They're not coming up with anything new. It's already there for us to read and understand. I will say they are conduits of information. They are portals through which the information is simplified through and put in a much more concise, direct manner that we can understand today, because I will say some of these texts get very, very convoluted, very difficult to follow, and are very, very dense. With that being said, when it comes to women being multifaceted, I chose to go with the ancient Vedic texts, which come from India. Maybe I'll go into Greek next, I don't know, but this is what I chose because this is what my mom pointed me towards. And in it talks about how women are inherently multifaceted, and it's not a flaw. It is something to be celebrated, and it's actually built by design. We are a fundamental creative force, which in the book they describe the term as Shakti, which means power. But it's not just power in the modern sense. It's primordial energy, a very dynamic, ever-changing, complex, life-giving force. Whereas men, which they refer to as Shiva, and I will make a note right here before I keep going, is I'm not making this a religious thing. These are just names they gave to energy, to energetic beings. Okay, so we had Shakti, which was for women, and we have Shiva, which is the male energy. Males were are pure consciousness, still energy, unwavering energy and unchanging. If you just look at the two depictions that I just described, yeah, at least for me in my home, the dynamic is I'm like all over the place. I can focus on, not multitasking, but I can focus and do and complete more than one thing in a span of 10 hours. Whereas my husband has more of like a, not a grounded, but a still energy, like a focused, even keel vibration, so to speak. Me, I can, feel happy and sad. I can look at something and feel happy and sad together in the same moment about the same thing. Whereas he just has one direct emotion about that thing. So this is not right or wrong. Neither is right or wrong. What these ancient texts depict and explain was that this was done by design for a lot of reasons. But just for today's purposes, we're focusing on women. So for women, we are motion, multiplicity, changing, evolving, nurturing. We can be creative. We can mimic the natural flow of life. So you have the seasons, you have dark and light, you have day and night, you have winter and summer, you have up and down, as above, so as below. You have women kind of mirror that. We mirror nature in a lot of ways. We can hold opposing forces at the same time. We can be very intellectual about something, but we can also in the moment tap into our intuition. And I've experienced this myself. So I'm understanding of it. I get it. I just never thought that it was something good. Because in modern society, I feel like it was always something like, oh, you can't focus, or you're emotional, or you're PMSing. But it's like, no, maybe there's something here. Maybe this is a gift. Maybe this is something from nature that is necessary and should be celebrated instead of being boxed in for us. In these ancient texts, they depict stories and characters in these stories. The women in the stories literally personify and show and explain through the stories and through the journeys of the characters how a woman could be a scholar, a warrior, a mother who just gave birth, has her child on her back, and is now on top of a horse fighting a war because the king, her dad, has died. So now she has to take over. So she's in that moment a mom, a warrior, and the quote unquote queen now, or princess, whatever you want to call it, of her kingdom, fighting for her people. So you can kind of see where they're depicting how women can be all encompassing at one moment. I'll tie this back again. But for some reason, modern society says, when you do this, you have to do this one thing. If you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, you can't be doing XYZ. If you are building this company, you cannot have this fund over here because you should be only managing these people's money. Like, there's all these little examples that I can come up with in a modern society that has been built around in a way of boxing people in. I don't know if this was done on purpose. I am not sure if this was done because it was created by men and for men. I'm not sure if it was done to diminish a woman's value and to make her feel some sort of way and then strip her of her power and make her feel like this is bad and kind of make her conform to the masculine way of things. I'm not saying I know the answer to any of these things. I'm just saying these are questions that are coming up in my mind when I was thinking about this topic. But what I can say is, instead of I'm a big believer, instead of fighting the system and fighting society, I think it's up to us to work on ourselves from within. And then when I work on myself, hopefully the girls around me work on themselves. And then, it just has a systemic effect. If you have kids, then your daughters learn from you, and then it continues to have a systemic effect. And eventually, society as we know it is ever evolving and changing for the better. But today, I feel as though women can't even digest other women for being more than maybe what their titles are. So in no way, shape, or form am I putting men down or saying that men make women or try to fit women into boxes. That is not the case at all. I'm just saying even women do that to other women. I even see women not supporting other women. Like, take my CEO example for a second. You would probably bat an eyelash if you saw a CEO of a Fortune 500 company posting herself in like a really skimpy bikini on social media. And all of a sudden, you're like, she can't be intelligent and smart and a CEO and be a feminine and all her feminine energy on vacation? I personally think she can be both. You can't see a woman post a classy picture of herself, but then like maybe in the captions talk about philosophy. Now, I'm not talking about thirst traps and then putting Bible verses underneath. That's not what I'm speaking about, okay? I'm talking about real life people who genuinely are what they are and their thoughts are in their captions, or what they're, portraying out there is a piece of them and it is a part of them, or it's how they felt in that moment and it's what they wanted to share. I know people who can't digest that. It's not okay for them. And quite frankly, recently, not too long ago, there was a woman in media who talked about this and felt that she cannot just, well, she does, but she said that people in this space can't digest a woman being up here, but then also being very feminine. And when I say feminine, maybe she's having her emotions, and maybe she is dressed a little sexier than normal than she would be in a boardroom, okay? Maybe she is a wife, but doesn't have kids right now, but she's like a boss outside. But then people have a hard time seeing her as like a trad wife at home, but maybe she is. You guys see that? Like there's this push and pull still going on. And I think in 2025, we really shouldn't be having this discussion anymore. I don't think that this should be a thing anymore. And I'm speaking about this because even though a lot of us are aware of this and are very lucky to be surrounded by friends and family, men and women in our lives who are very supportive of this and aware of this, there are still people in our society who condemn this, people that are in power. You know, if you go into in an office setting, you still have HR snuffing at a woman who walks into the door asking for a job after raising her kids for 10 years and taking that break for 10 years from her career of like, who does she think she is? She has a 10-year gap on her resume. That's not fair. I don't think that's right. I don't think that that's what we should be doing. So what I've been observing around me the past 2 years of the women that I feel are the happiest and exude the most confidence and contentment are the ones who flow with every phase of their life. And I'm not saying that they flow to the phase of whatever life gives them. I'm saying that they choose and honor what it is that they're feeling and what they want to do. So for example, if she's a new mom, then she feels comfortable going back to work and coming home to her kids in the evenings. She's fine with having a nanny for some of the time, but she's kind of like living the best of both worlds because that's what's fueling her in the moment. And she's not there giving in to the noise of other women or men who might be saying, oh, she's not a good mom. All she does is work. Her husband makes enough money. She doesn't even have to work. Why is she doing this? Does she not want to be home with the kids? This is like foundational youth and years of them. She should be home with them. She's just honoring what she feels pulled to do. What she's doing is not based on what other people expect of her. She's following her inner compass. These women aren't chasing something or making decisions in their life based on what so-and-so will say about them. They just do whatever they want to do. If they want to stay home with their kids, they stay home. If they want to continue to work, they do. If they want to dial it back and do part-time, that's what they do. They honor these phases in life. And so it made me think that for most women, life is in phases. It's ever evolving, ever changing, whereas man is still. Man is unchanging. He's just pure consciousness and then just kind of like does, right? And is just there. I don't know why I'm laughing. And neither is good or bad, positive or negative. That's just the way we were built and that's just the way we're designed. Women sometimes do it all, great. Women sometimes want to pull it back a little bit, great. Sometimes they're like, oh, hey, I've done this enough. Now I just want to stay home with my kids for the next 10, 15 years and enjoy this time. Good. Because they're honoring themselves and they're honoring their phase. They're not burning themselves out trying to keep up with some sort of image that society or people around them expect of them. Let's take a micro approach now. I will use myself as an example for this. I can be in a business meeting and be speaking with somebody. I can have a very professional discussion and conversation without losing the human approach. I can literally stand there and have empathy for somebody who's going through something and is confiding in me. And at the same time, I can still be having the conversation with them about business. I can still see them as the head of their company, even though while they might be sharing something very personal with me that they might be going through in a moment of something tough that's making them seem a bit emotional. I can separate the person from the work. I can separate that human from his or her position in the company. I don't look at somebody and think you have to be a certain way. I can hold both opinions or perspectives that I have of you simultaneously together without putting you in a box. I think that's a gift. I'm very proud of that. I've always been that way. I think it's one of the biggest traits that I have. It's one of the biggest reasons that I've been able to be in positions of managing large groups of people since a young age. Wherever I had jobs, I was always in like a much more management position. And I still carry that with me. Actually, that's one of the most fulfilling parts of my day, when I get to see a more personal side of somebody or see a more authentic side of somebody. I think it's beautiful if I can showcase by example to them too of how to lead their team members or anybody else witnessing this, that like you have to be able to honor the humanness in each person. That includes women as well, who are multifaceted, that, hey, she can be here in a board meeting filled with men or C-suite executives and go into the bathroom and have a complete breakdown and meltdown about something that's going on at home. That doesn't take away from her intelligence in the boardroom. That doesn't take away from her power to make the right decisions for the company. That doesn't take away her power from being the best at whatever it is she's trying to attain in that moment in her career. So for some reason, we take those moments and we judge women for them. I tend to approach men and women the same. I don't believe that their only identity is professional. I don't believe that their only identity is mother or father. I don't believe that their only identity is to be the friend. Like, there's many facets to a person. And so I'm kind of going back on something like men and women. Women are more multifaceted. But there are men that I know that are multifaceted too, to be honest with you. I know we're talking about women right now, but when I approach my day-to-day life within my company, within people that I'm dealing with abroad in India, with the team out there, with the team here, I always look at the person as a human first and their professional title maybe second or third, because there are more than one facets to each of us. And I think that we can have a better human connection. We can all be better people, better human beings, if we can put that first in line. And trust me, business still gets done. It's an incorrect belief to think that you can't achieve success and get the most productivity out of your team if you put humanity first. When it comes to emotions, I know that I can be in a room and have a very, very deep discussion with a guest, and while they're explaining something, I could be getting teary-eyed about something they said 10 minutes ago about their personal life. But I can still hold space and have that really good conversation in the moment about, them coming out on top. So what I'm trying to explain is, just because as females we can hold these opposing forces, happiness, sadness, crying, laughing, warrior spirit, and then kind of scared at the same time, fear but very courageous, intellectual but very intuitive, just in that split moment, we can have those two emotions at the same time. Women, I know you all know what I'm talking about, but men too. But men, I feel as though, know it more from a perspective of, one minute she's happy, the next minute she's sad. The one minute she's yelling at me, the one minute she's like loving on me. It kind of applies to other emotions as well. Sorry, I hate to break it to you, but that's just how it is. Because when you see us be super mom, or when you see us be like the super boss woman, know that there's another opposing force that's probably concurrently right there. It's just we know most of the time which one to feed. And there are times where both erupt and bubble at the same time. But that doesn't mean that we're better or worse for that job, or that we're not fit to do what's meant for what is expected of us in that moment. I think it makes us better. I think it makes us more human. I think it makes us more relatable. I think it makes us more open and able to understand you better. I think that we understand kids better. We understand husbands better. We understand our friends better. We can understand our team members better at work if we honor that multifaceted aspect of ourselves and of other people around us. Why is this even up for discussion? Like, why has this become a norm in our world today? Like, why are women who go all in on their careers are, looked up to, or women who choose to stay home and be stay-at-home moms, maybe still there's a bit of a stigma there with them. Or better yet, it's like, okay, yeah, she's a stay-at-home mom, that's a full-time job, whatever. But if she's trying to do both, or if she does 50% work, 50% at home, or if she's working part-time and the rest of the time she's spending time with her kids, why do we hold some sort of judgment or opinions on this? Why do we think there's something wrong with any which way that a woman chooses to honor this phase of her life? Better yet, why do we expect women to always be fully 100% into something? And when I say that, I mean like we expect women to show up at work the way we expect from men. I'm going to get some pushback on that one. I know I am. But let me explain myself. Because a woman is multifaceted, she can show up 100% at work, and she does, but in a different way than a man would. Just because a woman has to drop her kids off in the morning because the babysitter was running late because the guy was already at work, okay, so he wasn't hindered by this scheduling issue. She shows up to work 5 minutes late. Doesn't mean that she can perform 100 to 150% to her capacity, even more than what's expected of her, at the time that she's at work. But in society, I feel, she doesn't have a nanny, or she's having scheduling conflicts. She's not really showing up to work on time. And immediately you judge her. She's knocked at that point. Whereas if a man did it, I feel as though people would have a little bit more empathy for them. But when a woman does it, it's immediately like, oh, she's not capable of being in the corporate world because she's also a mom. And this is just an example that I'm using. I should probably come up with more examples next time. But what I'm trying to say is a woman can still perform at 100% of her capability and capacity, even if she's at work for like the whole 8 hours days, but like minus 5 minutes because she was late. Women have that in them where they get more done in a less amount of time. Just because they can give 100% of their career, or they're not full-time, or they're not there the whole time, doesn't mean that they're not great at their careers or at what they're doing. Some of them are extremely talented, way more talented than men and other women in their areas who are there all the time, always there, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., maybe even stay after work. But there are very high-performing women that I know of who do it all and who are probably one of the most overqualified women in their careers. So that expectation that we hold of women to be 100 on the grind all the time and to show up like a man, I think is wrong. Women can show up as women and men can show up as men. The end result still can be the same from both. Just because both have a different way of approaching life or approaching their careers doesn't make it wrong and doesn't mean that the company or the work product is going to suffer at the end. Take this into parenting. Just because a man shows up differently and a woman shows up differently for her kids doesn't make either one wrong. I honestly feel that a father figure has different things to bring to the table, and a mother has different things to bring to the table when it comes to raising children. With that being said, does that make one or the other right or wrong? Does it make one lesser than the other? Absolutely not. You need both. In today's time, you absolutely need both. And it's been proven that those kids grow up to be some of the healthiest, most well-rounded, emotionally intelligent children when you have both mother and father present. So why in 2025 does HR still scuff at a woman who has a gap of 10, 15 years because she chose to stay home with her kids, but now has a shift in heart and mind and wants to do something for herself and jump back into her career? We should honor that. We should celebrate that. That's not a bad thing. You're expecting her to show up like a guy who's been working 40, 50, 60 years of his life, 60 years, 30, 40, 50 years of his life, and has just been going job to job or working at the same place the whole time. How was he able to do that? Because somebody was at home with the kids. But now just because the mom was home with the kids, you're going to penalize her for that? You're going to scuff at her and not give her a shot at this job because she wants to honor this new phase of her life? This is my messaging. This is my point that I'm trying to make here, is that we need to honor that women go through phases, and we need to celebrate that, and we need to see the benefits of that. This needs to be something that we comfortably talk about with one another. This needs to be something that we teach our daughters and our sons, actually. This is something that I think corporate America needs to be open about and learn about and adopt. This new way of thinking. It's not a new way of thinking. It's an ancient way of thinking, actually. Men are geared to be one way. Women are geared to be another way. Neither is right or wrong. Both are necessary, and both are and can be 100% successful. But society tries to put women in a box, and the expectations that they have of women are those that they also have of men. And they try to put them together. I'll even take the fitness industry as an example. Why are we trying to put women into less than 10% body fat and be shredded and have 8-pack abs all the time and, go running and working out like a guy? Not every woman's body can do that or should be doing that. That's another thing. I think the aesthetics and what's deemed sexy and what's deemed appropriate and what's deemed she's fit or he's not fit. I'm sorry, but 90% of the people that I see that have a very low body fat percentage, they look like they're already 50 years old, men or women. I don't care who you are. Is that healthy? Our entire brain function and nervous system functions on fat. Why aren't people talking about that? Because even our marketing, even the companies, and you talk about Sports Illustrated, Victoria's Secret, whatever brands you want to think about, at least that's what it was when I was growing up, was super lean, skinny, shredded, chiseled beings. Men have different hormones. Women have different hormones. Women's hormones fluctuate day to day. Men's hormones mostly stay the same. Again, unchanging, very still, always rooted in one way, just like them. Women's are very up and down. Sometimes they're like this. They're different month to month. It's never the same. Society, and when I say society, I'm talking about men and other women, want to place women in tidy little boxes. She's soft or she's strong. She's alpha or she's not. She is a mom or she's a career woman, or she's trying to do it all, so she's superwoman. And the one that stays at home and doesn't do anything, we don't even ask her how she's doing or what she's been up to because we just assume she's just a mom. This is the narrative that needs to be changed. This is the narrative that we need to step back and say, okay, the expectations that we have of women cannot be leveled or measured at the same that we have of men. Both are necessary in our society. Both hold their value and their place in our society, and both should be honored for that because both were designed for a reason to be the way that they are. It's time for women to stop choosing between layers and start embracing the mosaic that they are. That's a good one, actually. I can't believe I just said that. So let's break it down. What does it mean to be multifaceted? It means that you hold more than one identity, you hold more than one strength, you hold more than one opinion, you hold more than one desire, you hold more than one gift. You have more to you than what meets the eye. You can be analytical, you can be artistic, you can be intellectual and emotional. You can be a powerhouse, but you can have a very soft side to you. You can be a great conversationalist, but be a complete introvert. You can be this is me. You can be in the media space, but be a total recluse and a complete introvert, shy person. It doesn't matter. Like, it's allowed. There's no book out there, there's no rule out there that it can't be this way. It means that you don't have to be and are not consistent in how you choose to express yourself or choose to express your power. You can be focused one moment, you could be daydreaming the next. Now, before I keep going, this is not an excuse for any one of us where we're don't get things done. Okay, go to my last episode, like, let's not be lazy, or I think it's the second episode on my solos. This is not an excuse for people not having focus or determination or goals in life. This is for those where I feel women who have more than one thing that they would like to accomplish, or they have more than one side to them they feel they want to express but feel that they can't. And it's like, yes, you can. If you feel that in you, you should. You could be focused one moment, you could be daydreaming the next. That's not flaky. That's dynamic, okay? If I'm out here saying, okay, I want to start this show and I want to build this brand, then I want to expand this media company, and then I want to do documentaries and movies, and I want to go overseas and start projects there, and then I want to do a documentary on my life. And yes, a man probably wouldn't see it this way right out of the gate. I do. Does that mean I'm wrong? Absolutely not. How I proceed to handle this moving forward, focusing on one thing at a time, but then also on the side, slowly building momentum on these other projects so they too can line up with the first thing that I started, that's going to be a different approach than any other man. Most men. I shouldn't say any man, but most men. And that's okay. That doesn't make it a wrong thing. That's how our minds work. That's how our bodies and nervous systems and creativity works. And quite frankly, I feel the most alive when I can do and focus, not focus on, but when I can do more than one thing. So focusing on one at a time. But in the overarching macro vision, I actually am doing more than one thing. I have always thrived that way. I have always succeeded at those things. But when I am just focused on one thing and feel boxed in and can't express myself in other ways, I've always given up on that one thing that I was working on to begin with. And that's never a good thing. You're allowed to be serious one day. You're allowed to be playful the next day. You're allowed to be innovative yet logical. You're allowed to be intuitive and emotional. And then you can be stoic and logical in the next minute. These are not, someone say, oh, it's bipolar. No, it's really not. I'm not saying that it happens like in the split second. I'm saying that in a day, in an instant, in a moment to moment, this is very normal. Some women hide it better than others. Some women know how to juggle both. And some women don't even tap into it because they're afraid and they just stay in the box that society built for them. And I'm trying to talk to those women the most that it's okay to be all of you. You were designed that way. Like, that's in your DNA. Let it out. You have to be able to own all parts of yourself. You have to be able to tap into all areas of your consciousness, all areas of your creativity, all areas of your intellect, all areas of your motherly nature that you might have. You are not just a wife, a mom, and a career woman, and a friend, and a business. You're you. Most importantly, you are you, and you can't forget that for any one of these areas of your life. Why is it important to honor the multifaceted nature of a female? In Vedic ancient texts, they say that honoring this multidimensionality, honoring this multifacetedness to a woman, honors wholeness of life itself, because life itself is multifaceted. Life is not still. Life is not unchanging. Life is not like this. So in order to create balance in nature, you had women like that, and then you had man to be still. So if you have both men and women being the same, where's the yin and the yang? Where is the balance in that? There's no balance then. So if all women are expected to act like men and all men are expected to act like women, there's no balance. So this is where I mean to say, like, women have their place in society just the way that they were built and designed, and that's how they should be allowed to be, whether it's at work, Fortune 500 company, an entrepreneur, a executive, an employee, a mom, a friend, a wife, a sister, whatever it is. You need to allow for that, because that brings balance and harmony back into the universe, into the life. So if you have a husband and a wife, and both of them are type A, and both of them are fitting into these boxes, into these roles that society built for them, where's the balance in your family life? Your kids are growing up not seeing balance. Your kids are not growing up seeing, honoring a female for who and what she is. Your daughter is watching you and not realizing that there's more to me, but she's only watching you be one way. Therefore, she's never going to tap in and tune into other parts of herself. Your son will never think that that's allowed in the girlfriend or wife that he chooses for himself. Trying to confine women into one role and expecting them or demanding them to handle those roles like a man would is a disservice to all of humanity. It's a disservice to ourselves. It's a disservice to our families. It's a disservice to our kids. These are fragments of their natural power where Vedic ancient texts teach integration, where these should all be blending all together. And quite frankly, when I look at some very successful friends of ours, couples, when I say successful, that, you know, careers, marriage, health, kids, all of it, they are very blended. I see very feminine, masculine energies in the mom, and I see very feminine, masculine energies in the dad too, and they play off of each other. And they kind of like do this cosmic dance. You know, when I'm around them, like you just know, like the mom picks up right here, the dad knows when to step in with the kids, and then the mom knows when to like, you know, put a kibosh on something, and the dad knows when to like laugh and play with the kid. It's just like, it flows. But when you have both parents living the modern life in the modern day society, you kind of see this happening in the family. It's like two ships sailing in the night, like separately. And I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's long-term sustainable. I really don't. I've actually never seen it long-term sustainable. Integration, not fragmentation, leads to real power and peace. Trying to put a woman in these boxes, fragmenting her natural power, here, 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 as opposed to integrating it all, leads to division. Whereas allowing the integration of it leads to real power and real peace within the family structure, within society, within themselves. Society ultimately thrives, I think, when we honor this about women, the multifacetedness nature. Again, it's very systemic. It's almost like that saying, there's a saying where like, if you send a man to school, you teach one person, but if you send a woman, the mom to school, you teach a village. I believe it's the same theory can be applied here, that when the community gets the benefit, the full creative benefit, the intellectual, the spiritual, the leadership, the motherly nature, the career woman, the happiness, the sadness, she can then also, when she expresses that self, she can also hold space for everybody else to also express themselves. And when she's her fully self, my mom always says this, like when the woman is given space to fully and truly be her whole authentic self, which is fluid energy, ever changing, ever evolving, and very expressive, she can make the home a very happy place. But you box a woman in, your marriage, your family life, your home can be riddled with poverty, sickness, unhappiness, division, divorce, whatever you want to call it. But if you've seen in homes where the woman is very happy, the family is happy. Where the woman is unhappy, the family is unhappy. Because children grow up seeing complexity as a strength and not a weakness, you have families strengthening in bond. Because the dynamic dance of life is ever changing, ever evolving, now you're going to have a spiritual evolution that accelerates within a family. Therefore, allowing women to be multifaceted in all areas of their aspect also helps further, I believe, families in their religious or spiritual practices. What are the benefits of embracing this? I just touched on a few, but there's a few more that I want to go into. These came from a different book that I was reading. You feel more grounded, and I can attest to this one. So growing up, I was never really allowed to express the multifacetedness of my personality, and trust me, it's there. I am not only a Gemini, which is like 4 people in one body, but now add the female aspect of it, and I'm really like 8, okay? That's not to say that I come off as like hot or cold or up and down, or no. It's more as though I have many interests, and I can give 150% to each of those interests. I've done it before. I've proven it to myself. But as a child, that was not fostered. My dad always said, if you don't focus on one thing, then you aren't successful at anything. And I think that for some personalities, that simpleness and that simpleton mentality works. For me, I'm restricted because when I see a vision, I see multiple visions. When I see an idea, I see multiple ideas. When I first start to dream, the dream starts like up here. It's like a macro vision. And so like when I had a dream for this company, it's like up here. All right, here's the holding company. But then here's all the things we do underneath it. And I believe in opportunity. I believe in launching fast, working fast, and pivoting along the way. I believe in playing to your strengths. I believe in hiring people who are good at things and better at things than you are, and then going for it. So for me, it's always been helpful. And for me, I'm the most invigorated and alive when I'm doing it. When it's just one thing I'm doing, I don't know. There's no fire in there. There's no energy in there. There's no pull. Like when I wrote the book and I had a podcast going on. Then I was also I co-founded and helping build a blockchain consulting company. Everything was using different parts of my brain. That's why I enjoyed it. That's not to say that I couldn't show up 100% for each of these things. Yes, I could, and I still can. With that being said, I have made my lifestyle in a manner that allows me to do so. I have 2 dogs and a husband. I don't have a house full of 10 kids that I'm dealing with, okay? Is it still possible? Yes, it's still possible. I can name 5 business women right now off the top of my head that are running multiple companies and have several kids and have a successful marriage and are doing it all. I believe that the skill sets necessary for those types of women, they do grow and build over time. You know how to hire, you know how to delegate, you know how to prioritize, you know what needs your attention immediately, you know what can be worked on later on. These are the things that I feel women are very naturally good at. They just aren't given the permission slip to express them, practice them, nurture them, foster them, and strengthen them. But I'm here to tell you, you don't need a permission slip for that. You just need to go do it. You unlock creative thinking, for sure. My husband can tell you, my mom can tell you, my brother can tell you. When I speak, my team can probably tell you too. I am talking and there's 6 different ideas that I'm talking about all at the same time. But some of my most creative moments have happened during those conversations because my thinking usually is done out loud. So I understand and create better when I'm speaking out loud to somebody else. It's also the way that I understand problems, whether they're with me or with my team or at large or even in my relationships with friends and family. I only understand when we discuss and talk. If we don't, or I can't express myself, I don't understand anything. So I understand in real time, basically. I create in real time. I can think about all the creative ideas at night at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I don't fully get the picture or understand till I'm verbally speaking them out loud, and then the puzzle pieces start to connect for me. You become very magnetic. I have always been attracted to women who speak to all parts of themselves. And when I see somebody not doing it, I can feel it. That's not to say that I'm not attracted to them. I'm just saying like, it's not magnetic to me. It's kind of like, I want to help you. But women who are unapologetically, authentically, fully embrace the phases in life that they're going through and are honoring them and not worried about what he or she says about them. It's so attractive. It's so inspiring. It's so motivating. It's so invigorating to see that happen. You create new paths. I think this is how you get opportunities. When you're boxed in just doing one thing, you're not that inspired, you're not that motivated for too long. But when you're giving into all areas of your life and all areas of your personality and of yourself as a female, I believe you create new opportunities. I believe you create new ideas. I believe you solve problems. I believe you have new ideas. Why is it that a lot of women, a lot of successful entrepreneurs, businesswomen, capture or come up with their ideas after they have kids? They have more experience now. They saw life through a different angle now. They see life through their kids' eyes. They see life as a mom now. They have had life as just a single girl before, as a wife before. It makes them so valuable now that they can see from a completely, entirely different perspective that a man, no matter how experienced a man is, can never see it that way. Me, There are things that I will never comprehend or see that a mom or a businesswoman, a woman who's a businesswoman and a mom, is a daughter, is a sister, was a single woman, was in her dating life. She has all these facets and aspects of herself now that when she comes to the table at work or in any scenario, she can see it from all different angles. When she's sitting at the dinner table with her family, she can see it from her husband's eyes. She can see it from her own eyes as a wife. She sees it as a mother. She can also get into her kids and see it from their perspective. How is that not something to celebrate? And of course, when you're in all of those different facets of life and you can feel it and see it from all these different perspectives, obviously the emotions are going to come with. Why do we knock that? I think that's a beautiful thing. So if she is sad and mad at the same time about something her child just went through and her emotions are all out of whack, good, great. But that's where the guy steps in. He's still, he holds it, he's unchanging. His hormones, his DNA, his physical makeup, his universal God-given design is built for that. Because without him, there would be no balance. Without her, too, there would be no balance. See, you both are necessary. Fathers should not diminish emotions and portray a sign of vulnerability as a sign of weakness. Moms should not take a sign of strength as a sign of like alpha female or tone it down. Both are needed. Both should be fostered. Just like a woman's multifacetedness should be fostered. We all have these. Men have feminine and masculine energies. I think I mentioned this earlier. Women have feminine and masculine energies. Our kids do too. Our kids are really like, I think kids have a little bit more feminine energy in them, actually. It's the upbringing in the first few years, ages 1 through 7, that really, really help create the momentum of which one's more masculine and feminine. And of course, nature plays a role in there. I'm not going to get too much into that. I don't know that much about kids. But I will say that we need to honor the multifacetedness in our youth as well, not just women. How this actually serves us practically. When women honor their multifaceted nature, I believe that they can tap into greater inner resources. If we are only supposed to be calm, loving, caring, and nurturing, what happens when we need to be fierce? Do we only expect the man to be fierce and loud and aggressive? Or in times of need, can a woman be as well? She can. Nature intended it to be that way. Nature made us that way. Recognizing many of these layers makes you very resilient and complete. We can become more adaptable when we recognize that we have more to us than just what we've been told we have to be in the moment. When we become adaptable, we actually become resourceful, not just for ourselves, but for our families and for our loved ones. We can model a very holistic way of living. Like I mentioned earlier, the more that we honor this part of ourselves, the more the next generation will see that it's okay and it'll actually serve them, as opposed to us going through what I went through or what we went through growing up, where only a certain way was deemed the honorable, correct way in society. And if you're multifaceted, of the definitions that I just, talked about and examples that I gave, it was bipolar, emotional, PMSing, she's a BITCH, being passed up on promotions because she has kids and doesn't have a nanny, or can sometimes come in late because her nanny doesn't get there on time. These are all things that men don't deal with, but women do, and that's because we don't honor the multifacetedness of a woman. But if we do, then these would not be up for discussion anymore. We would be living in alignment with the natural law, which is dharma. That'll be for another episode. In Vedic culture, in ancient Vedic texts, living within dharma, living within natural law, is going with the ebbs and flows of nature, mimicking nature, allowing yourself to ebb and flow, adapt, move, be fluid-like, ever-changing, ever-evolving. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, Shakti, which is what they say a woman is, that power that she holds in herself, her being able to be, quote-unquote, intellectual and intuitive, sad and happy, still but ever-changing, nurturing but fierce at the same time, calm, loving, and content, but aggressive at the same time. She can create, but she can also destroy. These are the ways of nature. If you look at these descriptive words, we're describing nature. Nothing is still in nature, and neither is a female. And when we honor this, we honor life itself. We honor ourselves, we honor the people in our lives. We can then see it in other people, and we can hold space for other people in our lives to be this way and to allow them to be this way, which then has an effect on society as a whole. How can we foster our multifacetedness? You know, sometimes when we're so used to thinking and feeling and doing a certain way, it's hard to tap into that. Me personally, I was lucky that started dating my husband pretty early, 22 or 23. So I'd had a taste of what it feels like to be around somebody who does honor all of you and actually encourages it. But we had a bit of a break in between, and then we got married, or we got back together in like 2016, 15 or 16. And so from there on, from 2016 and on, I've had space held for me. Not that I needed it. So I'm here to tell you that if you don't have it, you don't need permission from anybody. You don't need anybody to support you in this. This is just my story and my journey. I needed it because I came from an upbringing of the multifaceted, and it was not celebrated. It was frowned upon. So I always thought something was wrong with me. He always encouraged all these things in me. He always saw these things as a benefit. There have been times where he has said to me, you have to focus on one thing. You can't be doing 10 different things as an entrepreneur or whatever. But I have proved him wrong since then. So if you talk to him today, he's going to agree with this, and he's going to say, yes, like Nina thrives when she's doing 5 different things, and she does give 100% of her to all 5 different things. And that is how the whole picture and the whole thing comes about. And that is how she's always successful. He cannot do that. And that's okay. You know, we are both different in different ways. I'm lucky enough that I found it pretty early, and I'm lucky enough that I am able to have had the chance to foster it and now put it to use. Stop asking for permission. Step 1. This is how you foster it. I already mentioned this. I'll get into it. You never need permission to be, do, say, think, feel how you are and who you really are. As long as you're not hurting anybody, stay true to yourself. Don't ask your parents for permission. Don't ask your husband for permission. Don't ask your boyfriend, your friends, or anybody. When you ask for permission from somebody to be all that you are, what does that say? That you're not allowed to take up space? That you feel like you can't be you, but you're here? God brought you into this world. The universe brought you here. You're here for a reason. And now you're asking somebody else for permission. And 9 times out of 10, the person that you're probably asking for permission for is doing less than you or wants to do less than you. So never ask for permission. Always follow your curiosity. If you look at my life trajectory, nothing makes sense. Very few things build on each other in my life. But I can tell you this, the more I follow my curiosity, which by nature, I'm a very curious person. I love reading about everything. I love talking about deep conversations with other people. I love learning from other people. I'm a very curious person by nature. And the more and more I followed it, the more and more I got aligned with my intuition and my heart, the more success I have experienced. And success to me is fulfillment. Do I go to sleep at night fulfilled? Do I wake up excited? Do I feel creative? These are all things that make me feel successful. These are things that I define success with. Surround yourself with expanders. This is a big one. This is getting very real and very true for me as I get older. I do tend to roll around in circles that are very open-minded, supportive, not always think like me or see things like me, but maybe more than me. And so then it expands my mind too. I love learning from people. I love seeing people do really, really well, whether they are moms, whether they are in their careers, whether they are into fitness or food or health or whatever it is that their shtick. And a lot of the people that I do hang out with are very multifaceted, I guess you could say. And it's so beautiful when I hang out and speak with people like that because it inspires me to my core. It's how I learn. You know, I don't just come up with these topics out of thin air. I mentioned in my very first episode that I'm inspired by things going on in my personal life, things that are going on in my friends' lives, people that I meet at events, new friends, old friends, acquaintances. I take inspiration from everywhere. And so I really do try to, every encounter I have with somebody, my inherent like emotion that I'm holding usually is that one of like reverence, and that I am learning. Even if I'm not saying anything, even if I'm not talking, I'm very observant. Like, you could think I'm not watching you, but I'm watching you. And I'm observing how you are with your spouse. I'm observing how you are with your family. I'm observing how you are in like the group of people. I'm observing what makes you tick. I'm observing like what's sparking your interest in this moment. Like, that is how curious I am. I pick up on like little things about somebody. If they say they like something, I will remember it forever. But this is me learning. This is me honoring. This is me practicing my multifacetedness, where maybe because I'm the host, I should be chatty Cathy and talking to everybody and doing this, but really I'm honoring the flow and how I'm feeling. And I'm doing the same for you in that moment as well, to the best of my ability. So surround yourself with people who expand their worlds. And I don't mean any kind of hate or shame or judgment on this, but I do tend to limit my exposure on people who are just always doing the same thing, always talking about the same thing. They don't expand, they don't travel, they don't try to learn new things, they don't try to do new things. They're just kind of in this bubble. That's very, very suffocating to me. I do believe we all rub off on each other, and therefore I choose the former, always. Document your layers. Write them down. This is a cute idea. Make a me map, like M-E. So make a me map and list out your passions, your desires, the things that you like, the things that you want to try, the things that you want to do, the things that tug at your heart naturally, the things that you're good at, maybe the things that you're not good at, but you want to get better at, that you do like. For me, that was my ticket. Wasn't born with this gift, didn't have exposure to this, but was always very curious about it and always loved learning about it. And lo and behold, that's what happened to be my door. So never limit yourself just because you've never done something, didn't go to school for something, or maybe don't have the training in it. You're never going to get there unless you try. You're never going to be exposed to it unless you expose yourself to it. So write it all down and then see which way your heart and your intuition take you. I think being multifaceted can be very beneficial at work. I had mentioned this earlier, but I'll just go through a few right now. You can see things from multiple angles. Like I know I can. I've been told I can as well. I have a way of talking to the CEO of a company, but somehow the conversation will go to like something about his personal life, and then he'll work something out and bounce something off me. And next thing you know, he's like, wow, I never thought of that. And I've been married for 40 years. You know, I can talk to a secretary of the office in the same light and manner and hold space for her while we're getting some work done, while we're doing scheduling for the next 3 months, but it's almost like still a therapy session. So that's my multifacetedness, where I can be focused on one thing, get the work done, get the job done in the least amount of time, but that human connectionness that I have with people, it's there and I honor it. I don't dim it. I don't think it's inappropriate. I don't allow the working relationship, or, you know, maybe we're just not that close of friends and we're just acquaintances. I don't let these labels get in the way of my heart, I guess you could say. So I feel as though the multidimensionality to women can be very helpful in the workplace. It can actually be very fostering, to be honest with you. You have to own that versatility. You don't have to be the perfect candidate, but you could be the interesting one. You don't have to be the one who's alpha female, but you could be the one who's like, wow, she brings a lot to the table. She brings what we need. She brings what we've been missing. But you have to feel that and know that about yourself. So I'm not trying to change the world's mind. I'm trying to help the women who do not tap into their multifacetedness or shy away from it or have dimmed it down. Try to tell you that you can be the interesting one. You don't have to be the perfect one. You can understand that you have a lot to bring to the table in any scenario that you see yourself in, and not just the boxed version that society maybe wants you to be for that situation or that scenario or that role that you're looking for. Embrace your full self. The more you embrace yourself, the more people embrace you. I swear, it's the biggest trick that I can give you. When you're confident, the world thinks you're confident, the world listens. When you're calm, they're calm. When you own your multifacetedness and all the areas and parts of you, you give others permission to do so. Not that we need permission, but you do inspire others to be the same. And so now that's having a very positive ripple effect throughout society. And at the end of the day, guys, we're all here to walk each other home. None of us is getting out of this alive. So sometimes it helps. I tell my guests this before we record if they're nervous, that, hey, it's not about you. You know, and at first they're like, what? You're interviewing me about my personal journeys. It's not about you. It's about the people watching and how your story is going to inspire somebody, because you and your own unique voice and your own unique journey and the way you're going to talk about it and describe it is actually going to speak to somebody, and it's going to change your life forever. That's what this is about. So understand that the way that you are and the way that you've been created is for a reason, and it's going to help somebody somewhere in this lifetime. So don't dim it down for anybody. Trying to simplify a woman is like trying to simplify nature. It only leads to imbalance. Honoring her wholeness will bring harmony and balance. I mentioned a little bit of this earlier. We have to honor the male and the male energies and characteristics in their entirety for another episode, but I'm fully aware of right now of the expectations we hold on men in our modern society. If he can't get me this, if he can't do this, if he can't provide, if he can't do this, then, you know, he's no good. And then we have the woman where we have expectations of her, or we have, I'm blanking on the word, but like we have these adjectives that we use to describe women where like they're PMSing or they're BITCH, or, you know, she's busy being a mom, or she doesn't have time, or she might come here and get a job and then get pregnant, and then she's going to have the, you know, parental maternity leave, and then I'm going to have to hire somebody else. You'd be surprised. These are all real discussions and topics that go on in HR, unfortunately, still to this day. Not just HR, everywhere, throughout a company. And we need to honor both energies. We need to honor the masculine and feminine in a guy. We need to honor the masculine and feminine in a woman. And we need to honor the ever-changing, ever-evolving holder of opposing forces in one moment of a female. And then I believe we have something of value. And then I believe we create a balanced, harmonious society altogether. And if this episode sparked anything in you guys, lit anything under you, share it with a friend, share it with your mom, your sisters, your sister-in-laws, your friends, your cousins, whomever, your coworkers. I would love to hear your thoughts on this episode or on this topic. Nina Pal Dixon on all social media handles, and Chai Tea with Nina D is also on all social media handles. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the show.